Guys, I'm going to take us up to Columbia, Missouri for my first spoiler. I think the Missouri Tigers have a chance to be actually pretty special this year. Eli Drinkowitz, look, he's kind of comical to watch speak on, in his post game pressers. He's kind of funny on social media. He's like, to me, he wants to be Lane Kiffin, but he's not. He hasn't reached that status yet. He doesn't have the skins on the wall that Lane Kiffin does. But maybe he gets one this year because I think the Missouri Tigers are a team that can challenge the 9-win threshold. Their over under, according to DraftKings, is 6.5. I'm not saying they get to 9 wins necessarily, although when we get to the preview season, maybe I will. But right now, I would certainly lean towards the over. Missouri's offense should be really good. That was not a problem for them last year. They were able to throw the ball, they were able to run it. They've got a little bit of a quarterback controversy this year between Brady Cook and Jake Garcia, who comes in from Miami. The defense, though, has been what has just crushed Tiger hopes the last several years. At one point, they were a historically bad defense. You could get whatever you wanted on them through the air, on the ground. It did not matter. They were not stopping you on your way to the goal line. That's changed though, and Missouri now actually has one of the better front sevens, I think, in the country. It's kind of tough to say they do in the Southeastern Conference because so many of the teams in the SEC are the best in the country. But they're going to be very, very competitive. They're not going to be getting blown off the ball week in, week out. They've got one of the best linebacking duos in all of college football as well. There's a lot of returning production for this defense that let's be honest, took their lumps over the last couple seasons. They improved last year on what was a horrific 2021. And guys, this schedule is very workable. I mean, you got South Dakota and Middle Tennessee to start. You should be a very comfy 2-0. You got Kansas State in the Man I Love Farming special, which is ironic because it's Ag Day in Columbia that day. You
Okay.
play Memphis, you play Vanderbilt. You don't have a true blue blood test. I'm not writing off Kansas State. I think Kansas State has a chance to be pretty good again this year. But you don't have a team that you're like, they're probably going to lose that game until October the 7th when they host LSU. Then they play Kentucky, they play South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas. I'm not saying that this is a 10-win team. Like some people legitimately are. Just go search Missouri on Twitter and you're going to find some really fun takes. Shout out Dan um, for the Missouri Tigers. But what I am saying is this is a veteran team that has stacked a lot of really talented recruits over the last few years. I'll tell you this. I think if you're South Carolina, end of October, maybe have some injuries. You're going to Columbia, not an easy place to play, as Georgia found out or nearly found out last year. I think you're looking at Florida and Arkansas to finish out this regular season. We don't know what Florida is going to be. A lot of people are high on Arkansas. I'm not this year, so I actually kind of tend to lean the Tigers maybe in this season finale. But I would not be shocked if I look up on ESPN a couple times during the season and the Missouri Tigers have come out and they've stunned somebody at home. They've earned a scrappy win on the road, and this Missouri team finds a way to go 8-4.
I I think they will jump up and get somebody. And if you're talking about them in a spoiler sense as jumping up and getting somebody, that's a very real possibility and even probability because we've seen Drinkowitz do that a lot throughout his tenure at Missouri. So yeah, whether that's South Carolina, whether that's Florida, whether that's one of the big two in the East, Georgia and Tennessee, Kentucky, they will jump up and get somebody that they're not favored to beat. I am really concerned about that Kansas State game right off the bat
Fair.
and the possible tone that might set for the season. I know Kansas State is replacing some key contributors, Deuce Vaughn in particular, but Kansas State beat them by 4 scores in Manhattan last year. So I'm not super confident. I know Missouri was a different team down the stretch last year than they were to start the year. They really rallied to make a bowl game. But man, the schedule just seems really difficult to navigate. Kansas State is a tough out of conference game. LSU is a just nearly impossible draw out of the West to go
Yeah.
along with their permanent rival Arkansas. and they have to travel to Georgia. So not that they would beat Georgia at home, but just going into Georgia, then following that up immediately by hosting Tennessee and Florida at home. That's just a really tough sequence to get by for Mizzou. They'll probably make a bowl game because that's what Eli Drinkowitz has done. He has been really good at rallying his teams to make a bowl game. And with the talent he's had at Mizzou, that's a really, really good coaching job that he's done the last couple of years. But I hesitate to think that they'll do more than that. They could jump up and get somebody, but I think anything more than that might be asking too much of this bunch this year.
Yeah, that Kansas State game is going to be pretty tough. And, reminder, they will be replacing Deuce Vaughn with DJ Giddens, who has been performing exceptionally on our YouTube channel and probably in spring ball as well. But we'll leave that aside for now. I do like this pick, though, Mitch. I think that this is a pretty good pick here for a spoiler team, not just because, they almost did it last year with Georgia. They almost ruined their season real quick on a stupid night where Georgia probably didn't come out with anything close to their A game. But in addition to that, I do think that anytime you have a team like Missouri where you've got a couple of real playmakers, looking at Luther Burden in particular, anytime you have playmakers like that, all it takes is one of those guys going off and having a real special game. And you're talking about a really, really good season. And you're talking about, maybe finding some mojo that you didn't have. We've seen that happen at times where it just seems like a guy gets possessed and he just can't be stopped. He's on an absolute heater. He's uncoverable, right? Or he's untouchable. And I think that, Mizzou has a couple guys who could do that. I've been huge on Luther Burden for a very long time. Obviously, mentioned him there. He's going to have his second year, and I think with a little bit better quarterback play, he could be real special this year. And I think they could go knock some people off. I'm not going to pick them to beat Georgia in Athens, but Tennessee better watch out heading over to Missouri when they hit them on the road. They better watch out, or else they're going to be maybe on a little bit of a falling situation where they might not be, recapturing some of the magic they had just a year ago.
I'm excited about Missouri. I think it's another dynamic piece in the SEC East. Should be really entertaining.
Gracious him. How about